will bring articles of impeachment against the President of the United States of America for taking our military to war against Venezuela, for doing it based upon some theory that in and of itself does not align with the Constitution. Some theory that if you have an indictment, you can now send in the police or the Justice Department and various officers associated. You can send them in to do something, in this case to seize the president of a country, and use the military to back them up. Mr. Speaker, and still I rise. And still I rise, a liberated, unbought, unbossed, unafraid Democrat. And still I rise. And I rise today because I have grave and great concern for the American people. I fear for the lives of the American people. And I do so, Mr. Speaker, because if the President of the United States and his underlings and his persons who are in charge of very powerful agencies within the federal government, if they can convince this country or some significant portion of the people in this country that Miss Renee Good was a terrorist, I fear for the lives of the people in this country. In fact, I fear for my own life. I'm not afraid to speak truth to power. I'm not afraid to speak truth about power. I'm going to speak truth about power today, but I can tell you that I fear for our lives. Because if you can justify what happened to Miss Good after seeing with your very own eyes what took place, and if we can allow the king's men to conclude that only they can investigate this, remove the local constabulary from the process, if this can happen, I fear for our lives. We are now living in a country where people are expected to believe that this mother of three, a Christian woman, seated in her vehicle, yes, the vehicle was across the roadway, but that somehow she was a terrorist. The head of Homeland Security has as much as said so. A terrorist. Mr. Speaker, I fear for our lives because what we saw when this lady, this woman, was accosted, and I say accosted because men who had on masks in police regalia, I suppose, approached her rather aggressively, it seems to me, and one of them in approaching said, "Get the F out of the car." I'm not using the profanity, but that's what was said. You can see it for yourselves and you can hear it for yourselves. That is what was said. Get the F out of the car. When men can approach a female in a car and say this to her and expect her to immediately respond in a positive manner, and if she does not and attempts to drive away, if they can take her life, I fear for our lives. Do not assume that it can only happen to her. They aggressively approached her, cars were going around her in various ways. But when she made her move to extricate herself, to move along, to move her car, officers started to shoot. She was shot. One officer shot through the side window as she was moving away. Now, you don't have to know this lady. I don't know her. I don't know who she was, other than what I have seen and what I have read. But the truth is, officers ought not be allowed to do what was done to this lady. There should be an investigation that includes the local constabulary. If you truly want to be transparent, if you truly believe in liberty and justice for all, if you want the people in this country to believe that what occurred was the right thing, then you would want the local constabulary to be involved. But no, this administration is shutting out the local investigation, and they are including only the federal investigation, which means, by some thought processes, that they have no desire to let this go to a trial. There are people who believe that this administration has no desire to let this case go to a trial. For edification purposes, I am one of them. I don't believe that they want this case to go to a trial. I think that this is why they have decided that only the federal authorities will investigate. I also believe that if the case goes to a trial, and if there is a conviction, and it is a federal conviction, I believe this president will do for the person or persons convicted. I believe he will do for them what he did for the people who assaulted the citadel of democracy on January 6th. I believe he will pardon. And I believe he will do it without question, reservation, or hesitation, just as he did it for those persons who assaulted this Capitol. And he did it immediately after being sworn in. Mr. Speaker, I fear for the lives of the American people. And again, I say, that includes me. I think we have a reckless, ruthless outlaw who has found his way into the presidency. And to further validate my thinking, I have here the words of the President of the United States of America, Donald John Trump. Here are his words when asked if there were any limits on his international power. I know what happened within the country was national. This deals with international power. Give me just a moment, please, of your time so that I might connect these dots. When asked if there were any limits on his international power, here's his response. It's my own morality, my own mind is the only thing that can stop me. Some things bear repeating. My own morality, my own mind, it's the only thing that can stop me. Mr. President, what about Congress? What about the Constitution? What about the power to declare war? And where is that power vested? What about it, Mr. President? Only your mind? Only your morality? I won't go into the president's moral standards. I'll leave that to you. So what the president is saying is, this joint resolution, S.J. Res 90, over in the Senate, here's a copy of it. Permit me to read some excerpts. It reads, joint resolution to direct the removal of the United States armed forces from hostilities within or against Venezuela that have not been authorized by Congress. S.J. Res 90. It goes on to say, resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives. Eventually, if it passes the Senate, it has to come to the House for our approval. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, Section 1, findings. Congress makes the following findings. 1, Congress has the sole power to declare war under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 2 of the United States Constitution. Mr. President, the Constitution still has some relevancy. The Constitution is not meaningless. Goes on to say, Congress has not yet declared war upon Venezuela or any person or organization within Venezuela, nor enacted a specific statutory authorization for use of military force within or against Venezuela. So, only his mind, his morality, that's the only thing that can stop him? This resolution won't stop him? Here's what he knows. He knows that if it passes the Senate, he knows that if it passes the House, he knows that he has a vote. And he knows that if he votes no with his veto, he knows or believes that it will not be overridden. Well, I still say this is the right thing to do. I say this because you cannot allow a president to do what he has done in terms of going to another country, bombing the country, to do this and not put some check on him. At least you have to try. You can't just allow it to happen and decide we'll wait until we can override his veto. Pass it in the Senate even if it never passes the House. You ought to pass it in the Senate. House should pass it, but if the House doesn't, the Senate is doing the right thing. Pass it. Let him know that there are some people who are watching. By the way, the president also gone on to say that the five Republicans who voted for this to move forward, that they shouldn't hold public office again. Threats and intimidation. This president spells the word respect, F-E-A-R. That's respect. He wants people to fear him. I don't fear you, Mr. President. I'm concerned about your behavior. I'm concerned about what you might have your underlings in some way do to me. But I want you to know I will not be deterred, just as these senators are not being deterred. And yes, they are doing the right thing, notwithstanding the fact that you have a vote in this process. But they did it, and they're doing it, and I support what they're doing. I will bring articles of impeachment against the President of the United States of America for taking our military to war against Venezuela, for doing it based upon some theory that in and of itself does not align with the Constitution. Some theory that if you have an indictment, you can now send in the police or the Justice Department and various officers associated. You can send them in to do something, in this case to seize the president of a country, and use the military to back them up. And I marvel at how people will say, well, they did it in Panama. If we did it in Panama, we can do it here. God, the list is endless of things that have been done that were wrong, that at some point we had to stop. It was wrong to bring folk to this country in chains. They thought it was lawful at the time, I suppose, in their minds. But we stopped it. So regardless as to what has happened prior to this second in time, I say to you, the Constitution still rules. The Constitution is above indictments. Constitution is above the things that are in the mind of a president that he believes would give him the authority to do these things. It's the Constitution that counts. And if you're going to have a Constitution, you have to make it count. It doesn't count because the words are on paper. It's how we react and behave in response to the words that are on paper. It's the Constitution that counts. And an indictment is no constitutional reason to send the military, to send a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, to send planes in large numbers, to send other military paraphernalia. Indictments don't accord you that, Mr. President. And the only way we can stop this is with impeachment. That is the only thing. Why is impeachment? Because, friends, it would say to the next Donald John Trump, we will not tolerate unconstitutional means that are justified. You can't decide that you are going to use some sort of means justifies the ends theory to go to war. He needs to be impeached, he needs to be convicted, and he needs to be removed from office.